I at first thought it was a weekday, but I would rather call it a simple day for wrestling news. I may again look into things to see if there's more news on eWrestlingNews.com, which is the place that I normally go when I'm looking for my own news, which actually sounds bad, but let's just get into it. I watch videos instead of going to the news sites, let's put it that way. Um, Simple news to start off with it being clear that NXT is shifting away from NXT 2.0. The championships that were revamped after the rebranding last year are apparently going to be set back to how they looked before the revamping. So expect to see the championships to look a little bit different if you're one of those people that pay attention to the details that much on NXT in the coming weeks. But speaking of NXT, there is also, of course, an update on the Mandy Rose situation, which apparently we will be getting probably more and more updates as the weeks and months go on. But the door is open for a return, which is something I want to put out there right from the outset. The other part of it is, I just want to say, if you're going to hold your opinion based on ignorance, then don't expect people to care for your opinion, because there is a way to state your opinion and there's a way to not state your opinion. And stating your opinion shrouded in ignorance is not the way to state your opinion, in which is my take on the situation, which unfortunately I have seen a number of wrestling fans state their opinion based in ignorance as opposed to stating their opinion, taking into account the facts. And a lot of what I've seen is a lot of people, I would assume, that just have problems with WWE in general and refuse to look at things from any other point of view outside of a negative WWE point of view. Do I think that things could have been handled a different way? From what I understand in the research that I've done, it seems like WWE had given Mandy previous ultimatums to scale back, not to stop doing what she was doing. It has very little to do with the financial intake, because as you guys know, the third party ramification thing that was put in place under Vince McMahon, or the third party limitation thing that was put in place under Vince McMahon, was taken out from Triple H by Triple H and after the power shift, which allowed WWE talent to return to platforms like Twitch. It was just the fact that you had to keep the expectation in mind of perception that there were limitations of what you can post. And apparently, from what I understand, it is possible that due to constraints within the partnership with Mattel, which WWE talent have had problems with Mattel in the past, that basically Mattel was one of the people that told WWE to scale back or to speak with Mandy Rose, and due to Mandy Rose not heeding WWE's warnings of scaling back the content and reining it in a little bit, not stopping her fan time, but reining it in and dropping the risque content that was posted. And I've heard all sorts of reports about what was posted on her platform, on that platform, and what she was posting. But I also know from a report from Fightful that a WWE wrestler said that they dwarfed their WWE paycheck in what they posted and what they made from OnlyFans. But my point is that the WWE wrestler was probably not posting the same type of content that Mandy was posting on her fan time page. So my point is that I think what caused Mandy Rose's release is she called WWE's bluff, and she knew she would get in trouble for it, or could get in trouble for what she was doing. and she just didn't care because of the money. I'm not saying that WWE did not make a justified call based on the money, or that it had nothing to do with the money that Mandy Rose was making. Because I don't know for certain that it does or it doesn't, and nobody does. What I can see, or from what I can see, it had to do with WWE giving her warnings to stop, and her not heeding those warnings and calling WWE's bluff, basically. Which I think it was her choice. She made a decision, and WWE chose to make that decision, and that they basically had to act due to what, due to circumstances outside of their control, because it was a sponsor telling them to act, which also shines a light on the idea of that being the case because of the fact that WWE basically said the door's open for a return if it was something like money or an insane disagreement between the two. Then you would have to figure that it would be more or less that WWE would not be allowing Mandy to return once the heat dies down. But I think that if I was WWE, and I would be telling Mandy Rose, look, go get married, go take some time off. You are a featured person. You are a featured person on the program for the last couple of months, or the better part of the last year. So take some time off, go rest up, come back. We'll touch base in the summertime of next year, and we'll bring you back. Sound good? You just gotta take a release now. Take some time away, let the heat die down, and we'll revisit this down the road. I think that is how I would handle it, number one. Number two, I think that's similarly to how probably WWE handled it, and I would not be surprised if sometime in 2023, that we see Mandy Rose back in the WWE ring. The WWE news, specifically WWE news, we have a report that Triple H is underwhelmed by some of the new hires, or severely underwhelmed, I believe was the wording. And to correct the camera because it looks like I'm asleep. Severely underwhelmed by the results from some of the new hires back over the summertime. I'm not necessarily surprised because some of them have not necessarily lived up to expectations, but also some of them are not hitting on all cylinders just yet, likely because it's just not like the WWE that they left had 2 world titles. Like the WWE that they're in now is different than the WWE that they left because there are not 2 world titles. So the opportunity that was there before they left is not the same as it was when they left. And I do think that, somebody like a Dakota Kai, a Dexter Lumis, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, all selling the company back in May, back over the summertime, or the latter part of the summer, early part of the fall. I don't know why the camera is just turn it off, but I think that Doc Gallows, it went out again. Yeah, I'm just gonna turn it off. That Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson are probably one of the people that would benefit from a future feud with the Usos. I could definitely see that happening. The Usos versus Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows for the tag belts, and really using the OC. I think Solo Sikoa in a match with AJ Styles would be something very interesting, and something that could be worth seeing what we could get from. Look at Alexander. I'm just gonna say it. Look at Alexander Wolf's face when he stood on the top rope. I mean, it is insane. Just the visual. But I do think that it would be justified to say that some people have been underwhelming since they returned to WWE, but I think it's just the fact that WWE is different than it was in 2020 or 2021 when those talent were with the company, and that they haven't necessarily fit back into that role in the new company because both the tag team titles and the world title have been unified over the last year. So it is a little bit of a different type of company from the one that they left when they got released. I'm not saying that some people have not overwhelmed. Some people have. I think Braun Strowman. I think Braun Strowman lived up to expectations, but I think someone like Karrion Kross may have been in a different position had the company had two different world titles, and may have been better received if the company still had two separate world titles. I think Gargano still has potential to prove. I think that some of the women's wrestlers that have come back still have something to prove. I know a lot of them just returned, but I would love to see where they go from here and how they fit into the women's division, because the women's division still has two separate championships. So the perception hasn't changed there much since they got released. But it's also a lot of the women. Mia Yim never got the opportunity on the main roster. Tegan Knox never got a fair shake on the main roster. Emma, in my opinion, never got a fair shake on the main roster. So seeing how these women get a fair shake on the main roster is something that I would love to see come out. And it's more or less not where I'm disappointed by their returns, or happy, but more indifferent and like to see more from them. And I think that's where some of them are. I think I'm disappointed by Karrion Kross only because of how well he's been featured, and then I would love to see more potential and maybe a return to how he was with NXT, or maybe you put him in the ring with somebody who has a similar style to him, and you just have more of a clear cut feud like you did in NXT. Like maybe instead of having Karrion Kross through the darkness and the type of gimmick that he has, have him try and shake the foundation of WWE and change WWE. Have him be the guy, the vessel that breathes in the new generation of WWE and the change of perception for the company, welcoming in the guys that were big in NXT and now are making it on the main roster. But I think that will also change once Roman is not the champion. So it is a lot of, I am underwhelmed, but I would love to see more, and I think there's still more to come for these guys. And I think the longer we see them, the more we'll get the potential that we hope. At least that's what my hope is. But these are my thoughts on wrestling. You guys will get another news video a little bit later today, so stay tuned for that. But if you're enjoying this type of content, let me know. You can let me know that by leaving a like, leaving a comment, or dropping a subscription. Doing one or all three, either way it helps with the algorithm. And with that being said, but also do not forget to ding dong that notification bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel. And I will see you in the next one.